If you're thinking of becoming a homeowner, you need to expect the unexpected, especially when it comes to these expenses. Hello and welcome to Practical Personal Finance, where you get the information you need to understand and succeed with money. About a year ago, my wife and I purchased our very first home. What followed has been a steady stream of somewhat unexpected expenses. So today I wanted to take a few minutes to educate you on 11 of those hidden costs of home ownership, so you can be more financially prepared when you finally become a homeowner yourself. I'll tell you what each expense was for, what it cost me, and what you should be prepared to pay. And make sure you stick around until the very end of this video, because the final expense I'm going to discuss really caught me by surprise. Let's start this countdown with number 11, appliance repairs. Within the first month of moving in, both my dishwasher and my washing machine needed repairs. I was able to fix both of them on my own with the help of my father-in-law, so it only cost me some time. But if I had to call a repairman or replace either of the units, it could have cost me anywhere from a couple hundred to over $1,000, depending on how long the repairs took or what model I selected for replacement. When I was renting all those years, I'd really gotten used to picking up the phone and calling the landlord when something stopped working. Whether it was the stove, the garbage disposal, or the dryer, I didn't have to worry about the time and expense of making it function normally again. But now, as a homeowner, I do. Up next, number 10 is annual HVAC maintenance. When the weather started to heat up a few months after we bought the house, I paid about $90 to have an HVAC technician come out to inspect, clean, and educate me about my system. In all my years of renting, I never once saw this happen. And maybe that's why this expense caught me by surprise. But really, this is something you should have done on an annual basis. In our case, I knew going in that our system was old, so it was important that we got a clear picture of what condition it was in, how soon we would need to replace it, and what the replacement cost might be. For that reason alone, I'd say it was $90 well spent. Going forward, we're going to continue with 2 yearly inspections at $90 each, one ahead of summer to check on the air conditioner and one ahead of winter to check on the furnace. Number 9 has been the cost of various home improvement projects. In our case, it was all about painting. We spent roughly $600 on paint and painting tools shortly after moving in, so that I could paint the walls and ceilings in the living room, dining room, and 3 bedrooms. Had I chosen to hire a professional painter, I was probably looking at spending around $2,000. Could I have gone for some less expensive paint, rollers, and brushes? Sure. But it's not like I'm trying to do the bare minimum in order to get my security deposit back from my landlord. I wanted to have an easy time painting and wind up with a durable professional result. And by doing it myself, I learned a valuable new skill and saved myself well over $1,000. Speaking of value, if you're getting some value out of this video so far, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. Thanks. Number 8 is lawn care. In my first year as a homeowner, I spent roughly $500 and at least 50 hours of my time making sure the grass was cut and the yard looked neat. And I went the inexpensive route. I picked up a used lawnmower for $150, a relatively inexpensive weed whacker for $225, and spent at least another $100 on gas, a container for said gas, extra weed whacker string, a new mower blade, and other accessories. Then I had to actually get out there every week and cut the grass. You might not comprehend how much lawn care costs until you actually review what you spend on it. At least next year should be a little less expensive now that I have the tools I need. If you're not into DIY lawn care like I am, you're looking at a minimum of $100 to $200 per month for a professional to do it for you. Number 7 is furniture. In our first year of homeownership, my wife and I spent around $5,000 on new furniture. It turns out that when you go from living in a 2-bedroom, 800 square foot townhouse to a 4-bedroom, 2,200 square foot single-family home, you discover you need some new furniture, like a bed for the guest room, or a table and chairs for the dining room, or a sofa for the living room. That way, when family comes to visit, they have somewhere to sleep, eat, and sit. And unfortunately, when it comes to soft furniture like sofas and mattresses, you gotta buy them new. unless you want to risk having a bedbug infestation in your new home. Speaking of bugs, number 6 is pest control. I spent about $75 and 10 hours of my time throughout my first year as a homeowner on making sure we didn't have a bug problem. I bought some pesticide that I sprayed around the perimeter of my house and around doors and windows. And when we had some insect activity in our garage, I bought and applied some sealant in several areas which seemed to be the source. Again, I took the inexpensive route and did it myself. Had I hired a pest control service to do it for me, I would have been looking at spending around $200 or $300 per year for spraying the pesticide and maybe $50 to $100 for the garage seal up. Moving on to number 5, it's the floor coverings. Doormats, inside and out, kitchen mats, bath mats, and of course, area rugs. All in, we spent about $1,000 on these things in year 1 of home ownership. Crazy, right? The lion's share of that was about $700 for the area rugs in our living room, dining room, and foyer. But don't sleep on doormats, especially when you suddenly have 3 exterior doors to cover. And bath mats, when you go from having a single bathroom to 2.5 of them. Yes, you could always find cheap carpeting and floor mats, but are they really worth it in the long run? I want to be comfortable when I sit on the floor in my living room, stand at the sink washing dishes, or step out of the shower in the bathroom. So it makes sense to me to spend a few bucks on floor coverings. Number 4 is sprinkler system winterization. And obviously it only applies if you live in an area where the temperatures drop below 32 degrees Fahrenheit and your home is equipped with a sprinkler system. I happen to meet those qualifications, and in order to prevent the underground water pipes from bursting, I learned that I would need to winterize my system. That pretty much amounts to turning off the water supply and using an air compressor to blow all the excess out of the pipes. It's not too complex, and because I already had an air compressor, it only cost me about $10 for an adapter and a couple hours of my time. But if I didn't have an air compressor, I would have been stuck paying a professional anywhere from $50 to $100 to get the job done. Coming in at number 3, it's landscaping costs. Sure, we talked about mowing the lawn earlier, but what about putting down mulch, trimming the hedges, and pruning the trees and shrubs? We spent roughly $250, mostly on tools, to do this type of work in our first year as homeowners. That bought us a hedge trimmer, a pole pruner, loppers, a metal rake, and a whole lot of mulch. If you bought a townhome or condo, or your home has a small yard, you might not have this expense. But if you have some landscaping features on your property, be prepared to spend time and money maintaining them, or to pay someone else to do it for you. Number 2 is utility costs. Now, this is one that I did kind of expect. In year 1, we spent about $3,000 on electricity, gas, water, and trash collection. That's nearly 3 times as much as we were paying for the same utilities as renters. When you're cooling a larger space in the summer and heating a larger space during the winter, your electric and gas bills are going to be quite a bit higher. And before I was a homeowner, I had never worried about water and trash collection. It was always included in the monthly rent. So if you're buying your first home, expect your utility costs to increase, especially if the home you're moving into is bigger than the home you were living in before. And finally, the number 1 hidden cost of homeownership is, drumroll please, property taxes. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Andrew, property taxes are just rolled into my monthly mortgage payment. I knew about those already. But what you might fail to consider is that in general, because the value of your home will increase each year, you can expect your property taxes to go up every year as well. Depending on where you live, the increase might be capped, but that's not the case everywhere. And I was surprised to learn at the beginning of this year that my annual property taxes will increase by about $350 because of how much the value of my property increased over the past 12 months. I can't imagine it will continue to go up as quickly in the future, but it was certainly a surprising increase for a new homeowner like myself. Are there any hidden costs of homeownership that I forgot to mention? Let me know in the comments. Maybe you'll save me from a future surprise. If you're getting ready to become a homeowner yourself, click right here to check out this other video I made where I walk you step by step through the process of buying your first home. And if you're not yet a PPF subscriber, click right here to hop on board. As always, thanks for watching. I'm Andrew Scheer, and I'll see you next time.